Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water. A closer look at agriculture in South Carolina and conversations between the current and future leaders of the Palmetto State's largest industry. Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water is a production of the student media team at the South Carolina Governor's School for Agriculture at John De La Howe.
Good afternoon, Aggies. I'm Corey Davis with my co-host. And today, we had so much fun last week with Matt PERRON that we kind of forced him to come back. He promised me a giraffe, so I have to convince him to give me the rhinos and other things like that. So we're back with another episode. Now, Mr. Matt, last time we were on the episode, we discussed like your education, and we covered your farm, and Savannah brought up your farm and your raptors, wildlife conservations. What are your highlights of working where you work?
Okay, well, first off, Corey, I'm sorry I did not bring the giraffe back with me. My sunroof broke, so I just couldn't get him in the car. Got to be careful. But yeah, what do I love about my job is that, well, first off, whenever anybody asks if I'm busy, I can say, well, it's a zoo here, and the pun is terrible, but I can use it over and over and over again. Other than that, what I love is that I worked in news, and you would think that never gets boring, but there are times that you cover the same stories, cover that. At the zoo, you never see the same thing twice. You can walk up to an animal 5 minutes apart, and you're seeing something completely different. You might be seeing the otters tackle each other, and you come back 5 minutes later, and someone's thrown them some clams, and you get to see them breaking open clams and like playing tug of war for it. So it's always really cool. And for lunch, I can go walk around the #1 gated attraction in South Carolina and the biggest tourist draw, South Carolina. That's my office. So I get to look out, see these animals all the time. And since I started 2 years ago, the zoo has just been expanding and taking off. So it's really crazy having gone there as a kid to now be working there and seeing all the changes that have happened and to have the inside track on the changes that are coming soon.
Now, I won't tell on you. However you answer this question, I won't tell you. Okay. But do you have a favorite animal at the zoo?
Okay, the correct PR answer is whichever one I'm looking at right now. But if I'm going to be honest with you, I have 3. One I know that y'all's teacher doesn't like is our eyelash vipers, because I actually did a couple ecology trips in Costa Rica and went and we tried to find some in the wild and could not. So I love going over and seeing them. My other 2 favorites are, I think, the river otters, because like I said, they're always doing something different, always playing with each other. And the meerkats are fascinating when you go look at them. Especially, we've had 2 recent litters of meerkats. And so you never know, like when one of the meerkats is pregnant, all of a sudden you'll just be standing by and you'll hear little chirping from down in the burrows. So then it's just a matter of waiting around for them to come out. And then it's funny watching the adults trying to train them to go on guard duty, because they'll be standing there and like if a bird were to fly overhead, the adults would like start chirping, everyone run in the burrows, but the babies will be standing there and like a plane will go overhead and they'll start chirping and run for the burrows, and the other adults are just like, what? No,
wrong thing.
That's not going to hurt you. So it's really cool watching the meerkats and the otters, I think, are my secret 2 favorites.
Honestly, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that meerkats are your top 3, considering how I've heard that a lot of injuries on zookeepers come from those very same meerkats.
Now that I'm not allowed to talk about, but they're just little guys. They're not really gonna hurt you. It's funny. I talked about otters because from what their main keeper tells me, they like ears. And they want to go for ears if you're not careful. So,
ooh. You're gonna bring some earmuffs next time.
Yes, exactly.
So, last episode we spoke on birds, and What can you tell us about your avian protection program with window visibility and all that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We actually have recently partnered with the World Wildlife Federation, and we put up what we call Kaleidoscape on our restaurant, because one of the main things you don't think about is migrating birds. It's seasonal, but window and bird collisions is one of the highest fatalities for birds around the Midlands and around the country. So on our restaurant, what we did is really cool. If you look at it from outside where the window is, it looks like a forest landscape of white trees and a bunch of things. But if you're inside the restaurant looking out, you can't see it. So it's completely see-through plastic film that from the outside, it looks like trees that the birds won't fly into. Mm-hmm. And even though we didn't put that same foundation on all our buildings, other buildings around, anytime we put in new windows or anything like that, we put little translucent dots on it. So the birds can see the dots from the outside. They know not to fly into it, whereas from inside, you also can't see them. But it's little things like that you could do at home. You could put just a sticker, on your window outside, or things inside the window, be it window clings or, dream catchers or little stained glass decorative things. Just anything that will not make the bird think they're flying through, clear air.
Clear sky.
Yes. So we've actually gotten grants for that and won Plume Awards for that as well. So just very big initiative that even though we did it big at Riverbanks, at home you can do it for next to nothing and just be just as much of the solution. And so we're trying to give out grants for, we gave one to the Richland County Libraries, one of their branches, to cover their windows in it as well. So it's just very cool, very simple things that, it amazes me that it maybe took to the year 2022, 2023 to think of and to do, but it's now being implemented.
Well, you kind of realize that, the birds were just flying into it. I guess most people just thought they were stupid.
Yeah.
Instead of it actually being like something that the window was doing.
Why don't they try and avoid the other bird? That's what I don't get.
Yeah, exactly. So, in reference to the window issue, are there any other things humans have implemented into their everyday life that puts other animals at a detriment that you can think of?
Well, the obvious one is just the expansion of infrastructure, all that. We may think we need another golf course, but the 18 coyotes that live in that forest area now are starving, homeless, and then they're raiding people's yards, and if someone had chickens, the coyotes may be getting into the chickens, and that's basically our fault, not the coyotes' fault. They're just trying to stay alive. And I'd say encroachment on environment, a bit like we talked about last week with wildlife trafficking, is people not leaving well enough alone. If you see an animal, you pick it up and take it home to show people and be like, oh, look what I got. Now that animal no longer knows where it is, doesn't know where to find food, doesn't know how to live. It may not be a hospitable environment for them if it's a turtle that needs water, So it's just little things like that. If we could give Mother Nature their space and us keep ours, then I think things would work out better for everyone.
Honestly, especially here in America, we kind of view space as a commodity. You can start at the center of Los Angeles, drive 80 miles out, and you're still in Los Angeles. So it's
yes.
And obviously we have our little green areas that are that have our little trees that animals can live in. But just like me and Savannah are in our apiary clubs and we're trying to go for our certifications and things like that, there are certain things that people who are in that field teach you that you didn't really think about, like enclosing with small green spaces that are spread out and closed off from each other. And certain pollinators and animals can't get to those different things. And then you just kind of enclose them in a small space. And then when they don't have the space to survive, they die.
Yeah, I think if there was one positive that came out of COVID-19, is that I really think it got people more interested in going back into a natural setting, going outdoors, since everyone was, locked down for so long. And then the first places that were able to reopen, like riverbanks, open air areas. And I think that really has people wanting to get out more. I see it from our side with our new developments with our Bridge to the Wild, and they're connecting the Riverwalk on the Saluda River all the way from Lake Murray Dam all the way down to Lake Williams-Brice. So it's people are going out and doing things. And I'm thinking as people get more natural, I'm hopeful that a lot of these problems will start balancing out a little more. People are going to start realizing, and I think the word's getting out now, that if we don't do something positive for the environment, that there eventually probably won't be an environment to do anything for, and that will be detrimental to humans as well.
Speaking about the environment, what can you tell us about your Going Green program?
Everything we do as far as going green has a lot to do, with the sustainability I was talking about last week, with the no plastic straws, the sunscreen, the bird-friendly coffee, but also we just formed, I'm actually a member of it, I'm the communications part of it, but last year we formed we call it STEM, even though STEM means something else to a lot of people, but it's the Strategic Energy Management team that we have. So what we did is we brought in Dominion Energy, and we did an entire kind of electricity audit around the zoo. We saw what could be changed, what could be upgraded, what needed to be fixed. And then because we went through all that, Dominion gave us a $10,000 grant to then go and do some of that. So we just redid our administration building. Every room you walk into now is all motion censored lights. So there's no turning lights on and off, which is great until you sit too still for too long in your office, and then all of a sudden it's pitch black. Yeah. And it's exactly, you have to do dances to get your lights to come on. But we have that, all of, it's all infrared as far as water usage. Paper towels are all more biodegradable things. All of our windows have been redone, and the dots were put on them as well. But HVAC units were upgraded. But it's the easiest things. I mean, that's on a company-wide scale. But think about at your house, you can change your air filters more often, and that will help air circulate better, keep drafts out of your house. Need to use less HVAC for that, caulking windows and doors. Just easy things that not only save you money from the electric company, but allow us to use less fossil fuels and energy to heat. So we try and do things on the grandiose zoo side, but these are all things that can be implemented on a smaller level by every single person with very little effort, and it will go miles for conserving the environment.
So I mentioned like pollinators and bees earlier. What are your guys' shift towards maybe using bees more often, or like your pollinator landscaping?
I think it's basically, I think people are starting to realize more the importance of bees. There was a big scare there for a while where bees were starting to die off a lot quicker. And then you remember, there was the murder hornet scare a few years ago with hornets coming in and killing other pollinators that came from Asia. But I think people are more starting to appreciate bees. I hear a lot more about local beekeeping here and there. I don't think it's just because of the Jason Statham movie, but it's a very sustainable way to not only keep flowers and plants reproducing, but also, for every insect you feed, then a bird gets food, then, and it moves up the chain. So even the smallest thing of, the butterfly effect means something different, but even something as simple as a butterfly landing on one flower and that pollen going somewhere else can eventually create plants down the line flourishing. I mean, just think of how many medicines and stuff have been discovered just from plants that you never know what could be found next. And as long as these plants are able to keep pollinating, keep growing, those possible future medical advancements can be made, not to mention more oxygen for the ever-growing population and, shade, beauty, all of the things that come from balancing.
Let it grow.
Yep.
So Savannah asked you about like your Going Green project. Do you guys have like any means of educating people on like how, especially like climate change, like what we're actually doing into the environment? Because I've noticed that like in classes where I've had to like do my own research towards like how we're affecting the environment, there's misinformation on both sides. As in, I remember doing my own research and someone stating that we push out so much carbon a year that it weighs over 100 times how much carbon we put out in recent years. It weighs almost 100 times more than Mount Everest. And then when I did my own research into like actual government websites, how much they're telling us carbon we're putting out, did the math, it came out with 10% the weight of Mount Everest, which is still a lot, but it's nowhere near hundreds of times the size. So do you guys do anything towards misinformation in education?
What I think the problem with environmentally conscious decisions and things along that line, like we were just talking about, is somehow it became political. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. I don't know why one political party says this isn't real, the other one says it is, and you can't find a balance, and you can't agree without seeming to take other sides. But I'm not going to get political on it. It's something that affects all of us.
Survival rather than politics.
Exactly. So I don't understand why it's become a politicized issue, so to speak. But really, it's as far as we go, all of our keepers, we have gone through an entire process that they all also work with our education department to get facts. We have classes for kids all the way from nature preschool all the way up to zoo teens. And so we have kids that have started with us at 3 years old that are now keepers. Mm-hmm. Because if you can show them these things when they're young, they'll learn going forward. And it's easier to have maybe a kid tell their parents what they learned at zoo camp today than trying to say, hey, no, you're wrong with your belief because of this or because of this. But all of our keepers are instructed to interact with the public and talk about everything. And through the certification I was telling you last week, the climate change certification, they taught me ways to get the information out without causing either a panic or an argumentative way of delivering it. It's more of a just, hey, here's a metaphor, the heat trapping blanket that's getting thicker, like more kind of simplistic ways to discuss it without trying to sound like I'm just throwing out facts at you that are boring. Mm-hmm. And stuff like that. Make it more conversational, make it more fun.
Like Wildcats.
Yeah, exactly. And not so much a debate.
Yeah.
You spoke about plants a little bit. Can you tell us some more about your botanical garden?
I would love to. Our botanical garden in June will turn 30 years old. So It is one of the best, or it's always ranked one of the top botanical gardens in the United States. And I actually just yesterday reached out to my chief horticulturist because I wanted to have some stats for you guys. So we have over 5,000 different types of plants, I believe it said, that are on display at the garden. And along with that, last year, we planted 24,080 bulbs, including winter and summer bulbs. Of that total, 18,090 of the bulbs were winter flowering. We have 17,270 winter annuals planted. 13,315 plants that we've grown from seed, 1,461 plants grown from offshoot cuttings of plants, 15,134 total plants propagated for the fiscal year, 17,491 summer annuals planted in the 2024 season, 1,029 different taxa I've received, totaling 59,562 individual plants received last year, and 590 packets of seeds received for a total of 125,604 individual seeds.
That's insane. Savannah's actually a horticulture student, so you guys might need to hire her to come out there.
Oh, I'll bring you down. I'll introduce you to Andy, who's our head horticulturist, and he is a total just seed and plant geek. So
y'all do a lot as far as conservation, wildlife protection, all that. Do y'all have anything to do with exotic plants, keeping plant lines up? What can you tell me about that?
One of our biggest project is spider lily collection, because spider lilies are, very endangered. We have a patch that grows right along where the Broad meets the Saluda River. So every June we go out in kayaks and we collect all the spider lily seed pods, and we bring them back and germinate them in our greenhouse and grow them, and then re-put them on the banks for growing season, and then collect seeds again and keep that going. So we're trying to get a huge population of spider lilies going right down the rivers outside of our area. So that's really cool. We have our own greenhouse, so a lot of our own plants are grown, and we do Christmas tree grindings for people who are trying to return their trees for, conservation efforts that way. We do a lot of plant sales and seed tutorials. We actually do a plant and pour for adults where we get a bartender in and we teach everyone how to plant certain things while they can have wine or drinks while they do that. We just actually did for Black History Month, we did a sweetgrass basket weaving class from a Gullah teacher who learned from all her descendants how to weave sweetgrass into baskets. So that was sold out. We had like 60 adults in there having a couple drinks and weaving sweetgrass baskets that everyone got to take home. And so a lot of cool garden programs going on up there.
That sounds absolutely insane. Unfortunately, we are out of time.
I swear you guys' slots get quicker and quicker every time I come.
Still, I need a rhino. I need a giraffe, a rhino, a lion. Doesn't matter. I just need like something big and fluffy, and I need to be able to like ride it to battle. So,
all right. Well, why don't you practice riding before you come to Riverbanks? Because I do not want to have to send out that press release. It's like, yeah, Corey thought he could ride our rhino, and he didn't anticipate the horn.
Maybe.
My request might be a little easier. You should come and join us for our plant sale in the end of March.
End of March?
Yeah, we have our own greenhouse here on campus, so maybe you can come and see some of our specialties in the greenhouse.
Flex on our horticulture teacher about what you guys have going on.
I'll have to bring Andy for that. I'll be like, no, you guys go at it. I'm going to sit back and watch.
Let's start throwing seeds at each other. That's all we have today on South Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water, guys. We'll bring Mr. PERRON out much more often, and we'll see you in our next episode.
Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water, a closer look at agriculture in South Carolina, is a production of the student media team at the South Carolina Governor's School for Agriculture at John De La Howe. For more information on our school, visit our website at www.delahowe.sc.gov.